Hello and welcome to episode 40 of the Idiot Book Nook. We're going through chapter 22 of the Amulet of Samarkand. My name is Blazewing and my pronouns are she, her, and they, them.
And I am the Reading Dragon, and my pronouns are she, her.
I'm Lady Punnet. My pronouns are primarily she, her, sometimes they, them. Today it is a she, they kind of day.
Awesome. Love it. As mentioned, we're doing episode 22 of the Amulet of Samarkand, the first book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy, written by Jonathan Stroud. We are effectively halfway through this book.
Once we get done with this chapter, yes.
Once we get done with this chapter. So at the end of this episode, we will be halfway done this book. If you'd like to follow us on social media and check out our YouTube, our podcast streams, our socials, and our website, and possibly leave us a voice message over on the Anchor feed, you can do so at linktr.ee/idiotbooknook. We have all of our links and whatnot there, and we will be keeping those as updated as possible. But, with that being said, for those of you watching on YouTube, you'll probably see the cat nose.
That is Nugget.
And narrator. With that, would you please take it away?
The Bartimaeus Trilogy, Book 1, The Amulet of Samarkand, written by Jonathan Stroud, narrated by the Reading Dragon, voice acted by the Reading Dragon, Blazewing 2010, and Lady Punnet. Chapter 22. For the first time ever, I felt grateful to the boy. What perfect timing! What a remarkable coincidence! I could now disappear from under their noses, dematerialized by the summons, while they gawped and gulped like startled fish. If I was quick, there would just be time to thumb my nose at them, too, before departure. I gave a rueful shake of the head. So sorry, I smiled. I'd love to help you. I really would. But I have to go. Maybe we can pick up the torture and captivity again sometime soon. Only with a small alteration. I'll be out there, and it'll be you two cuddling up inside the orb. So you'd better start dieting big time, Sholto. Meanwhile, you can both go boil your heads and It wasn't my most fluent repartee, I'll admit, but the pain of the summoning was getting to me. It felt worse than normal somehow. Ugh, sharper, less healthy. Ugh. Also, it was taking longer. I abandoned all pretense of a cheekily insolent posture and writhed about on the top of the column, willing the boy to get on with it. What was his problem? Didn't he know I was in agony? It wasn't like I could writhe properly either. The orb's force lines were far too close for comfort. After 2 deeply unpleasant minutes, the vicious tug of the summoning lessened and died away. It left me in an undignified posture, crouched in a ball, head between my knees, arms over my head. With the slow stiffness of accumulated agony, I raised my face a little and gingerly brushed the hair back from my eyes. I was still inside the orb. The 2 magicians were right there, grinning at me from beyond the walls of my prison. No way to make this look good. Grimly, with 1,000 residual aches, I straightened, stood up, stared back at them implacably.
Implacably.
Stared back at them implacably. Sholto was chuckling quietly to himself.
That was worth the price of admission on its own, dear Jessica,
he said.
The look on its face was simply exquisite.
The woman nodded.
Such good timing,
she said.
I'm so glad we were here to see that. Don't you understand yet, you stupid creature?
Her flagstone shifted a little nearer.
I told you. It is impossible to leave a mournful orb, and that includes by summoning. Your essence is locked inside it. Even your master cannot call you from it.
She'll find a way, I said, then bit my lip as if I regretted saying it.
She!
The woman's eyes narrowed.
Your master is a woman. It lies!
Sholto Pin shook his head.
An obvious bluff. Jessica, I am weary. Also, I am overdue for my morning's massage at the Byzantine bath. It should be in this. I should be in the steam room this moment. Might I suggest that the creature needs further encouragement, and that we leave him to it? An admirable idea, dear Sholto.
She clicked her nails 5 times. A hum, a shudder. Time to downsize, pronto. I poured what remained of my energy into a hasty transformation, and as the flickering lines of the orb closed in on me, I shrank myself into a new form. An elegant cat, hunched and sinuous, shying away from the lowering walls of the orb. In a matter of seconds, the orb shrank to about a third of its former dimensions. The humming of its obscene energy was loud in my feline ears, but there was still a healthy gap between me and the walls. The woman snapped her nails, and the rate of shrinking slowed dramatically.
Fascinating.
She spoke to Sholto.
In a time of crisis, it becomes a desert cat. Very Egyptian. This one's had a long career, I think.
Now she turned back to me.
The orb will continue to shrink, demon,
she said.
Sometimes fast, sometimes slow. Eventually, it will reach a single point. You will observe continuously. So if at any time you wish to speak, you will be observed continuously. So if at any time you wish to speak, you need only say so. Otherwise, farewell.
In reply, the cat hissed and spat. That was as articulate as I could get right then. The flagstones turned and descended to their original positions. Sholto and the woman returned to the arch and were swallowed by the portal. The seam closed up, and the wall was as before. Eaglebeak and Bullhead resumed their marching. The deathly white lines of the orb hummed and glowed and closed in imperceptibly. The cat curled on the top of the column and wrapped its tail around itself, tight as it would go. Over the next few hours, my situation grew ever less comfortable. The cat lasted me well at first, but eventually the orb had shrunk so much my ears were down beneath my whiskers, and I could feel the tip of my tail beginning to fry. A succession of changes ensued. I knew I was being watched, so I didn't do the obvious thing and just become a flea straight off. That would only result in the orbs shrinking really fast to catch up with me. Instead, I went through a series of furry and scaly variations, keeping just ahead of the shimmering prison bars each time. First, a jackrabbit, then a marmoset, then an undistinguished vole. Put all my forms together, and you'd have a pretty decent pet shop, I suppose. But it wasn't exactly becoming. Try as I might, I couldn't come up with any great plan of escape either. I could gain a reprieve by spinning some long, complex lie to the woman, but she'd soon find out I was fibbing and finish me off all the quicker. That was no good. To make matters worse, the wretched boy tried summoning me twice more. He didn't give up easily, probably reckoning he'd made some kind of mistake the first time, and ended up causing me so much discomfort I nearly decided to turn him in. Nearly, but not quite. No point giving up just yet. There was always the chance something might happen.
Were you at Angkor Thorn?
Tom? Angkor Tom?
No, it says Angkor Thorn.
Angkor Thorn.
It's spelled out Thom for Mary.
No. Oh, Angkor Thom. Okay.
Yep. Bullhead again, still trying to place me. Wait.
What?
I was the vole at this point. I did my best to sound grandly dismissive, but voles can only do peeved.
You know, the...
Come
Is
here.
that silent K?
Khmer Empire, I believe.
Khmer Empire. I worked for the Imperial Magicians. Me, when they conquered Thailand. Were you something to do with that? Some rebel?
No.
True as it happened. That would be 800 years ago. In those days, I was mostly in North America. Sure about that.
Yes, of course I'm sure. You're confusing me with someone else. But forget about that for a minute. Listen.
The vole dropped its voice nice and quiet and spoke from under a raised paw.
You're obviously a clever fellow. You've been around the block a few times. Worked for a lot of the most vicious empires. Look, I've got powerful friends. If you can get me out of here, they'll kill your master for you, free you of your bond.
The bullhead had possessed more... If the bullhead had possessed more brains, I'd have sworn he was looking at me skeptically. Nevertheless, I plowed on regardless.
How long have you been cooped up here on guard duty?
I said.
50 years? 100? That's no life for an Utuku, is it? You might as well be in an orb like this.
The head came close to the bars. A shower of nose steam jetted all over me, leaving sticky droplets in my fur. Ah!
What, friends?
A merit, a big one, and 4 Afrits, very powerful, much stronger than me. You can join us.
The head retreated with a contemptuous growl.
You must think I'm stupid.
No.
The vole gave a shrug.
That's what Eaglebeak over there thinks. He said you wouldn't join our plan. Still, if you're not interested.
With a wriggle and a half-hop, the vole turned its back.
What?
Bullhead hastened around to the other side of the column, holding his spear close to the orb.
Don't you turn your back on me. What did
Xerxes.
Xerxes say?
I know your name now.
Oi!
Eaglebeak came hurrying from the far corner of the room.
I heard my name. Stop talking to the prisoner.
Bullhead looked at him resentfully.
I can talk if I want to. So, you think I'm stupid, do you? Well, I'm not, see? What's this plan of yours?
Don't tell him, Xerxes.
I whispered loudly.
Don't tell him anything.
Eaglebeak made a rasping noise with his beak.
Plan? I know no plan. The prisoner's lying to you, Bastuk. What's it been saying?
I know your name now,
It's all right, Xerxes.
I called brightly.
I haven't mentioned,
Bullhead brandished his spear.
I think it's me who should be asking the question, Xerxes.
He said.
You've been plotting with Captive.
No, you idiot!
Idiot am I!
Then they were off. Muzzle to beak, all posturing muscles and flaring chest feathers, shouting and landing punches on each other's armored chests. Ho hum. Utuku always were easy to fool. In their excitement, I had been quite forgotten, which suited me fine. Ordinarily, I would have enjoyed seeing them at each other's throats, but right now it was scant consolation for the mess I was in. The orb had become unfavorably tight once more, so I downsized again, this time to a scarab beetle. Not that there was a great deal of point in this, but it delayed the inevitable and gave me room to scurry back and forth on the top of the pillar, flashing my wing cases in rage and something like despair. That boy, Nathaniel! If I ever got out, I'd wreak such revenge on him that it would enter the legends and nightmares of his people. That I, Bartimaeus, who spoke with Solomon and Hiawatha, should go out like this, as a beetle, crushed by an enemy too arrogant to even watch it done. No, even now I'd find a way. I scurried back and forth, thinking. Impossible. I could not escape. Death was closing in steadily on every side. It was hard to see how the situation could possibly get any worse. A froth of steam, a roar, a mad red eye lowered to my level.
Bartimaeus!
Oh, well, that was one way. Bullhead was no longer squabbling. He had suddenly remembered who I was.
I know you now.
He cried.
Your voice, yes, it is you, the destroyer of my people. At last, I have waited 27 centuries for this moment.
When you're faced with comments like that, it's hard to think of anything to say. Shit. Well, except that, of course. The Utuku raised his silver spear and howled out the triumphant battle cry that his kind always deliver with the death stroke. I settled for whirring my wings, in a forlorn, defiant sort of way.
And thus ends chapter 22 of the Amulet of Samarkand.
Yeah.
Bartimaeus is in shit.
Yup.
Also, it was a red herring last chapter. We thought he was gonna get away, but he did not.
I said they were setting it up as, and it would be interesting to see.
Yes. Although, while he did not get to escape through a summoning, he might get to escape this way if the bullhead does succeed in, because he's about to stab the orb.
True.
Although the orb is made with silver, which is able to go through the orb quite easily, as was mentioned in the previous chapter.
Yep.
While that was a short chapter, it was very interesting.
I got nothing for this chapter, guys. I have no notes or anything like that. It's pretty straightforward for me, other than maybe a bit of exposition and background about the Utuku, and specifically about the bull one. We already know that Bartimaeus is a manipulator, so that's nothing new. We know that he's in a bind, or we knew last chapter that he was in a bind, so that's nothing new.
I do have one point to make.
What's that?
He lied about the gender of Nathaniel.
Yeah, he did, which means he's protecting Nathaniel.
Yep.
Like, he keeps saying, "Yo, when I get out of here," and for all this pain and discomfort. He could have quite easily, like, not say Nathaniel's name. He could have said it was a he.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know what that tells me? I think Nathaniel's growing on Bartimaeus.
In a way, yes. There was also mention that he's trying to save his own neck, too, from being trapped to Old Smoky.
Yes.
Yeah, but here's the thing. He didn't have to say Nathaniel's name. He could have just said a he. From what we've seen, it seems like there's more male magicians than there are female magicians.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not looking, and also they're not looking for an apprentice. They're probably looking for a full-fledged magician.
Oh, yeah. And the fact that he mentioned a she, I think he was thinking of that one chick that cornered him in a trash can a few nights prior.
I think
True.
I think Nathaniel's growing on Bartimaeus, honestly. I really do.
Well, I mean, I think this is probably like the first person that Bartimaeus has had a extended contact with.
There was one other boy, an Egyptian boy.
Yep.
In a while.
Yeah.
In a while.
Very
I imagine
long time.
since then he's been like contracted to do like short jobs. I think this is the first person in a while, possibly since the Egyptian boy, that has had a continuous contract with Bartimaeus.
Fair. Absolutely fair.
Probably the most excitement he's had in a while, either.
That's what
True.
she said.
I would imagine if Bartimaeus was a real person, he'd be one hell of a flirt. Or technically, they'd be one hell of a flirt, because we don't know if Bartimaeus has a specified gender, being djinn and being of essence primarily.
I'm going to default to no.
Yeah.
So.
I think they can have genders because he's referring to the bullhead as he. But I think it's like a perceived thing. Like, I think it could be a perceived thing. Like, we've seen he's comfortable appearing as both female and male. Like, from the Egyptian boy to the woman in the tunic.
Yeah.
With the horns.
With the horns. I think it's just like a gender fluid, gender queer type situation.
Very well could be. So, yeah, it's like I said, not overly that much new this chapter. We'll get to the comments in the chat here shortly. Not really overly much new, other than maybe that one thing.
Yeah. Which made me realize just now, with the form that Bartimaeus took at the beginning of last chapter, a woman, kind of dressed modestly or something like that. Hold on, let me pull up what he
Jay's redeemed a posture check.
Thank you, Jay. All right, just a second here. I'm looking for the description of the lady Bartimaeus described themselves as.
I know Bartimaeus put horns on her head just for the sake of it.
Yeah, but I'm looking for the rest of...
Let me go take a look here. See what I can find.
Yeah.
Scrolling. No, that was after... It was just after he woke up. Which would have been at, I believe, the beginning of the chapter. No, that's Nathaniel's chapter. I went way too far.
Oh, here we go.
I thus quickly changed myself into the semblance of a slender human female draped in a simple tunic before adding a couple of small horns on her scalp for the heck of it.
Yeah. So, simple tunic, probably, like, I imagined, like, a nun with small horns on her head, so naughty nun.
See, I'm picturing, because there's an obvious Egyptian theme with him. He likes that. I'm picturing someone like olive color skin, Egyptian heritage. Maybe, I don't want to say like Nefertiti, but maybe a bit aged towards someone who would wear a simple tunic, because otherwise I think they would say like Egyptian garbs or something.
Fair.
We also don't really know in particular or for sure what kind of garbs women of that time period wore as considered simple.
1 second.
Of course, now we have
Simple.
the internet to look that shit up.
Yep.
Garbs.
Yeah, but I can definitely see that, especially with the theme that Bartimaeus usually goes for.
That is absolutely fair.
Because there's the form that Bartimaeus took on with the favored summoner that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the cat that Bartimaeus took on that Jessica made note of being an Egyptian cat.
Fair.
Okay, here we go. So,
And then Scarab.
in the Old Kingdom, female servants, a simple sheath dress with wide shoulder straps, long hair, unpleated jewelry, is what it said in the Old Kingdom, which would have been around the time our Bartimaeus probably had the boy.
Mm-hmm.
In the Middle Kingdom, it was a simple sheath dress, once again for female servants.
Okay.
So, continuing, looking, because that's just the basics. I don't want hairstyles. Goddess as an elite woman, men. It's looking like typically servants still wore jewelry.
I mean,
I think
At
that was to
least
show
some-
status.
And who they were owned by, if I remember correctly. Because I remember seeing and reading something about how a lot of the servants in that time period still wore jewelry as a way to, again, if I remember correctly, as a way to show what level of servitude they were and how close they were to who their master or mistress was. Or how close they were to their master or mistress.
Looking at some images of depictions of what they wore, some of it could be described as a simple tunic. At least I think that... Here's the thing, though. We seen that Bartimaeus isn't afraid to use the correct terms when it comes to certain clothing items and such. I have not seen tunic used to describe the clothing. I've seen the sheath or long cloths, but tunic typically describes Greek, if I remember correctly. 1 second, go to Google.
I've also seen tunic used to describe European garments as well, like Western European.
They appear in the middle of the 14th century and were worn under outer garment. So it was 14th century.
Yeah, and
was when the tunic was first made.
We actually have kind of a timeline. The bull guy mentioned he's waited 27 centuries, which is 2,700 years, which is well after the turn of the millennia.
Well, I mean, he was there in 700 BC, and from the sounds of it, Bartimaeus was already pretty powerful by then.
Oh, yeah.
Because Bullhead literally referred to him as the destroyer of my people.
Yep.
Yeah. And Bartimaeus already remembered Bullhead being possibly one of the survivors.
Which clearly he was, because he remembered Bartimaeus. He wasn't just I heard stories of you. No, it was, I remember you.
Yep.
I remember your voice and your scent.
Yep.
Yeah. I just don't remember where until at the very end of the chapter. I remember you now fully! Prepare to die!
My name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father.
You killed my
Prepare to die.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had an Inigo Montoya moment.
Yep.
Or is having an Inigo Montoya moment.
Yep.
Let's see, what else was of note here?
Like I said, I've got nothing.
The mournful sphere is able
That's
to
nasty.
stop. It is nasty. It makes me wonder though, does it only, because it says it's your essence. So if a magician was placed into it, or even a commoner, would it still hurt them?
Well,
Is it a force field, or is it like only magical things get affected within it?
I don't know. I don't know if we have enough information to answer that question.
At least not yet. I'm thinking because Jessica said that it traps your essence.
Mm-hmm.
Humans, whether magical or mundane, still have essence, like kind of description of the soul, your energy, your aura and whatnot, your essence. What makes you you. So if it traps your essence, more than likely it's entrapping you in whole.
Interesting.
That's my theory on it, from how I look at things on a spiritual level.
No, that is totally fair. Absolutely, totally fair.
One note I do have is more about the upcoming chapter. We're in Nathaniel's point of view in chapter 23.
Ooh.
Yup. So
Who has tried to summon, who we now know has tried to summon Bartimaeus 3 times, first at the beginning of the chapter and an additional 2 times later on.
Yep.
Can we skip ahead a few chapters and find out what our next chapter with Bartimaeus is?
Yeah, just a second.
Sure, one moment, I will look. Okay, so
Same.
chapter 23 is Nathaniel. And going
24
down,
is Bartimaeus.
Oh, so we just got 1 chapter.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm thinking that's a good place. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, that can mean one of 2 things. Either something happens and Nathaniel realizes I can summon you now, or Nathaniel pulls a MacGyver and figures out how to summon Bartimaeus.
He has been into MacGyver shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's been shown that he can do, like, some MacGyver shit.
Yep. So.
Yep.
Pretty well.
I don't think he really likes doing MacGyver shit, though, unless it's going to greatly benefit him.
Correct.
Like,
He likes doing things by the book, but I mean, how do I word this? It's kind of like he's very much a by the books character, but if he absolutely needed to, he could MacGyver shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Basically, if he sees how, because you know how, like, when people are building shit, or he has a very mechanics mind.
Yeah.
If he sees how certain things can fit together to create something that is needed, quick, and efficient, he'll utilize it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he just wants to know the book-specific details, the actual rules, to make sure he's not fucking up at least the basics.
Yeah. So, I'm thinking this is a good place to leave this chapter.
Mm-hmm.
We have lots of exciting stuff coming, but I'm definitely thinking this is a good place to wrap this up.
Yep.
So, once again, hope you've enjoyed our chapter 22 and episode 40 of the Idiot Book.
Are we already at episode 40?
Last episode was episode 39. Chapter 21 was 39, according to my notes. And
Holy
chapter
fuck.
20 would have been 30... It's either chapter 20 was 38 or 37. Let me double check here. I might have my numbers wrong. It is entirely possible. Just give me one moment, please. So 18 was 34. 19 is 35. Sorry. So 20 is 36. 37. So we're on episode 38, not episode 40. Whoops! So 34. I've got
We're getting
1
there,
and 2,
folks.
35. So this will be episode 36, episode 37, episode 38. That is my bad.
It's all good. We should think of something to do for our 50th episode, by the way.
Yes, we should. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a very good chance that with our third book, we will get to episode 100.
Holy fuck.
Depending on how many chapters.
Yep.
But with that being said, we hope you've enjoyed episode 38 of the Idiot Book Nook
Posture check.
podcast.
Oh,
Thank you for the posture check. We hope that you've enjoyed episode 38 of the Idiot Book Nook podcast and chapter 22 of the Amulet of Samarkand, the first book in the Bartimaeus Trilogy, written by Jonathan Stroud. You should go check him out. He's Jonathan A. Stroud on Twitter. You can find his website through there. And you can find our socials at linktr.ee/idiotbooknook. We have our socials, we have our website link, we have links to our YouTube, links to our podcast. If you'd like to leave us some voice messages, you are more than welcome to over at anchor.fm/idiot-book-nook. And we can do a listener feedback episode.
Please leave us stuff to talk about.
Absolutely. We would love to have a discussion with you in real time. So if there's anybody out there listening, you know the options. With that being said, for the Idiot Book Nook, I'm Blazewing.
I am the Reading Dragon.
I'm Lady Punnet.
And we will see you next episode for the real episode 39 and chapter 23 of the Amulet of Samarkand.
Heck yeah!
Peace out!